Being emotionally smothered presents a difficult way for a child to grow up. And in today's video, I want to look at why would a parent do that? Why would they emotionally smother a child? Let's explore that on today's Ask a Shrink. Hang on. Familiar with emotional incest, check out one of my other videos about it. I'll have some links below in the description box about the umbrella term of emotional incest and what that means and what that's all about. Today's video, I want to look at specifically why parents would do that. What are some underlying reasons for them? Now, this is not meant to take the parents off the hook. So if you're a child who's been emotionally smothered, please be sure you don't get codependent in terms of focusing on the parents' needs even more. I need to solve this problem for them. So don't do that. This video is just some information about how this type of abuse continues to happen. So number one, when a parent feels a lot of personal entitlement, that can lead them to believe that it's okay to emotionally smother one of their own children for their own needs, to please themselves. So personal entitlement, where would that come from? Well, one big place it comes from is from having narcissistic traits up to and including having narcissistic personality disorder. So if you have a parent who's a narcissist, very entitled, it's all about them. They show little insight, little empathy. They could be friendly and outgoing and charismatic and have lots of friends. That has nothing to do with it. In fact, quite often narcissistic people can be the life of the party. People think they're the greatest person in the world. Look how nice they are. So it doesn't have to do with the facade of that. It has to do with the ability to connect in an intimate way. They're not able to understand other people's feelings because they're not able to understand their own feelings. That's what a narcissist is all about. It's all about the huff and the puff and what they show, while inside it's very empty. There's a void there. They're very lost souls, but that's not what they show to the world. That's what narcissism is all about. So if you have a parent who's predisposed to this and they get married, then there's a good chance it may lead to the emotional smothering of a child, because if they're having a bad life, they're not happy with their spouse, they don't like themselves very much, then you know what? I'm just going to turn my child into a little mini husband or a mini wife. Which leads to number two, they're in a bad marriage. But that's their choice, so don't take that on for them. People come together for all sorts of reasons. It's a choice. Couples do their dance. Don't try to figure this out for them. If you're a child who's been emotionally smothered, she has some narcissistic traits, then there's a good chance she's going to choose a man, either consciously or unconsciously when she gets married, who she feels she can control. And if we flip it around, men who are more submissive, more emotionally withdrawn, they can be drawn to a woman who's outgoing and ambitious like that with narcissistic traits because it takes them off the hook. My wife will run the finances, she'll run the social calendar, she'll take care of things. I'll sort of let her discipline the kids because she seems to have the energy to do that. She wants to do that. So you have the weaker one being drawn to the more dominant one, and then you have the more dominant one being drawn to the so-called weaker one. So that's the dance. That's what they're choosing, either consciously or unconsciously, because it's meeting their needs. An additional example, she's looking for a way to hide from life. I'm just going to let my big, strong, adorable husband just take care of everything. And all I need to do is just sit at home and have lemonade in the sun every day. Well, that's a fantasy that is not going to play out very well because life is not like that. Challenges and difficulties and just life itself as we age and mature and get older requires that we have to dive into life sometimes. We don't get a free pass with life. So you can try to hide from it, but it's going to sneak in there and get you anyhow. Another reason is the parents experienced enmeshment themselves while they were growing up. It's generational. It happened to them. So it's what they're familiar with. It's what they're used to, and now they're repeating it. And or also because of their parents, which is the child's grandparents, deciding as they get married and have children, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to include my children in everything. I'm going to tell them all of my adult problems. They need to know me. And they're doing that as a result of feeling neglected during their childhood. And either way, it ties into how they were raised by their parents. It's a reaction to how they were raised. It's trying to make sense of how they were raised. It's wanting to conquer how they were raised. They know on some level it was very dysfunctional, it was hurtful, so now they're just determined to change it all around, but they're changing it around in a way that is now causing more issues for their children, making things perhaps even worse for their children than what they went through when they were growing up. And another reason for parentification of a child by an adult, because they don't have an emotional relationship with some adult in their life, and they're confused and upset about that, They pounce on one of their children emotionally. They lean on the child for the affirmation, the good perks of a relationship that they never got and they're still not getting, not realizing you can't and shouldn't rely on children for affirmation. No, the parent is to provide affirmation for the children. If a parent wants that, you don't get that from your children, you go to your peers. So if you have a bad marriage, try to work it out. If it doesn't work out, then get a divorce. But don't draw your children into this. Or if you're a single parent and you're raising children and you're like, there's nobody out there I want to love. I haven't been able to find the right man or right woman, but I do have 2 kids I'm raising. Well, just because you haven't been able to find an adult relationship that satisfies you and you've decided that there's no love for you out there, doesn't give you the right to now smother your children. So that's another reason why a parent may emotionally smother. So whatever the reason, a parent emotionally taking over a child clearly shows us that they're grappling with some other issues in their life and things aren't going well. But either which way, if you're a child watching this who's been emotionally smothered, it's not up to you to figure this out at all. Do not take on your parents' stuff. Focus on you and your own personal growth, your own emotional growth. This video is more just for understanding, intellectually understanding how this abuse continues on, sort of looking at the larger picture about why it exists. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about this. Let me know any comments you may have. Please subscribe to my mental health YouTube channel if you like these kind of videos. And until next week, this is Brad Shore signing off from Ask a Shrink.